Good morning, nerds. Happy Veterans Day. Or at least it was yesterday when most of this video was recorded. I had some technical issues with editing, and so I come to you today with extended edition Veterans Day coverage. That's why some of the background is going to be different from this one, and maybe the video quality too. It was shot on a different webcam. Anyway, that's that. Alright, so let's get to it. Before I go any further, let me just say that although I am not a veteran, nor are many people that I am close to, certainly I honor the sacrifice that veterans make. Those who have gone to war and died, and those who have come home, all of them have given something irretrievable, and that deserves honoring. Let me take a moment to do that now. Thank you. Now, that said, I've spent a lot of my life, especially my younger life, through maybe late middle teenage years, with kind of a chip on my shoulder about Veterans Day. You see, it used to be called Armistice Day, and I didn't know all the history behind it, but I knew it used to be called Armistice Day and that it was about the signing of a peace treaty to end World War I, and so I found myself with this chip on my shoulder. People would say, oh, Veterans Day, Veterans Day, Veterans Day, and making it all about the war making. And that was a problem for me, I would say. It used to be called Armistice Day, ironically, very militantly. And I've mellowed out a lot about it now. And probably my issue with this is rooted in lots of things, but it must be noted that I was raised Quaker. Quaker religion, for those of you who don't know, Nate and Rob, I'm sure you do, espouses peacefulness and the pursuit of peace as perhaps one of the most important things that you can do with your time here on Earth. There is a Quaker testimony. The testimonies in Quakerism are sort of like the main pillars of belief, the main tenets of the religion, and the Quaker peace testimony goes like this, or at least contains this language. We utterly deny all outward fighting with all outward weapons for any reason whatsoever. And this is our testimony to the whole world. So you can see how the renaming of the holiday from Armistice Day, which seemed to celebrate peacefulness, to Veterans Day, which seems to venerate those who did the fighting over anyone else who might also be doing any kind of peacemaking work, might be an issue. So anyway, in preparation for this video, I did a little research. Oh, and watch your step on this jump cut. This one's a doozy.
First, a little history. I quote now from the venerable and very knowledgeable Wikipedia. U.S. President Woodrow Wilson first proclaimed Armistice Day, which is the thing that Veterans Day used to be called. Armistice Day for November 11th, 1919. They were observing the end of World War I, the war to end all wars, or that's what we thought at the time. In proclaiming the holiday, he said, quote, "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us, and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nations." Alright, so that was in 1919. So then 7 years later, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution requesting that President Calvin Coolidge issue another proclamation observing November the 11th with appropriate ceremonies. There's a congressional act, and it made the 11th of November each year a legal holiday, quote, "a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace, and thereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day." Then in 1945, World War II veteran Raymond Weeks from Birmingham, Alabama, had the idea to expand Armistice Day to celebrate all veterans, not just those who died in World War II. He led a delegation to General Dwight Eisenhower, who supported the idea of a National Veterans Day. He also led the first national celebration in 1947 in Alabama, and annually until his death in 1985. Okay, so then it became an official holiday when Dwight D. Eisenhower, now president, signed the bill into law May 26, 1954. And then Congress amended the act like 5 days later, replacing Armistice with Veterans in the title, and it's been known as Veterans Day ever since.
Okay, so you learn something new every day. In doing my research, I discovered that in fact, yes, originally the intent of the holiday was to honor those who had fallen. But then later, it also became about world peace. And I think that the fighting of wars and the creation of world peace, for myself at least, may be mutually exclusive activities. No wonder I have a complex understanding of the issue. Our own history of the holiday is itself complicated. So why does the name itself matter? Why does it matter whether we call it Veterans Day or Armistice Day? To me, anyway. I think for me, the answer is something about acknowledging the tools that are available, and also something about the fact that people will use the tools they have to hand. There's an old saying that if all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I would paraphrase that to, if all you've got is a gun, then everything looks like a war.
And I really do believe that we often leap to violent solutions much too quickly. Another part is that I've always believed in the importance of service, building community, bringing peace through our actions. That's really important. Whether you volunteer your time and effort in making sure that people are getting fed, or that they have housing when they might not otherwise, or that people are being educated and learning important things about themselves, their, how to be in the world, their emotional development, all of those things that are really important to me, are achieved through service. You have to be someone who cares about serving others if you want to bring about peace in the world.
So part of this, I'm discovering, is kind of selfish, small-minded, and petty of me. Every time I see a veterans discount or a veterans only this or that, I feel disrespected, disregarded, as though the kind of service I do, helping teach people, helping people communicate better, is unimportant to the world. And that bothers me. I don't want to be left out. But I also think that the fact we call it Veterans Day and leave out of the title the document that makes peace happen, I think that's emblematic of something larger and more significant about our culture. The fact that we turn to war and weapons as our tools of choice first. And that is something else I think we ought to have a larger conversation about.
So certainly, let us celebrate the sacrifice of people who have given of themselves in acts of war. But let us also celebrate peace and all the ways it may be made in the world, whether that's increasing the economic stability of a region where otherwise people are unable to get food or nourishment or education, whether that's making inner cities safer so that there is less interpersonal conflict, whether that's an educator who takes time to connect more deeply with their students, touch their lives, and make them feel more a part of a community, less likely to create acts of violence, whether it's someone who helps feed their neighbors, whether it's someone who helps people settle disputes, whether it's anyone who causes any kind of peace in the world. Let us celebrate them as well on Armistice Day and throughout our nation, because that is important too. So, with thoughts of all those who work to better the place that they live, the way the world is, happy Armistice Day and happy Veterans Day.
Non-aggression expurgates relationships diplomatically, son.